asked me to take a look at the Laura Owens v. Clayton Echard case out of Arizona. And I didn't want to, but I did. Holy crap. Wow. Yeah, mind blown. I thought it was like some crazy PR stuff and drama, and I didn't really. So much deeper than that. So yes, now I'm sucked in and I will cover it, but there's too much. I normally give you the chronological order from the very start to the very end, and I honestly don't know how to possibly do that. There's just so much to cover. I might try, I don't know. But going through the whole case, the one thing that really got me was the lying. And so I kind of want to narrow my focus on that little part today. And then we can jump into the other stuff next time. But before I do, I've been told that I must offer you the following disclaimer.
All comments are the personal opinion of Meg and Meg alone. They are intended for entertainment purposes only and should not be interpreted as legal advice in any way. Anyone depicted should be presumed innocent until adjudicated guilty in a court of law. Any legal information provided is not an analysis. Definitions and laws cited are to provide clarification on what is being shown and are not in any way to be construed as legal advice. Courtroom video used under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Other images, videos, and/or music used under license from Shutterstock, Getty, iStock, and other publicly available sources.
How old were you when you learned not to lie? They probably taught you it was like leather. It's really hard to shake your head no and say yes at the same time. So why do we lie? Because lying hurts other people. Like, why do you want to intentionally hurt somebody else? Lying spreads falsehoods. It creates problems. It creates chaos. And while it may seem to solve short-term problems, it's going to come back around and bite you in the rear end no matter what. So I asked ChatGPT, why do people lie? And they say, people lie for various reasons, often depending on the context and their personal motivations. Some common reasons include, I thought this was a really good comprehensive list. Fear of consequences. People might lie to avoid punishment, embarrassment, and conflict. We've never seen anyone lie in court, They fear the repercussions of telling the truth. A desire for approval. Individuals may lie to gain acceptance, admiration, and praise from others. To protect their self-image. Avoidance of discomfort. Sometimes lies are told to avoid uncomfortable situations or conversations. Protection of others. People might lie with the intention of protecting someone else's feelings or reputation. Habit. You might be a habitual liar if, oh, hi, how you doing? Achievement of their goals. In some cases, individuals lie to achieve their goals. This can involve manipulating others or providing false information to gain an advantage in a particular situation. Lack of empathy. In certain cases, people lie because they lack empathy or consideration for others. They prioritize their own needs and desires above the truthfulness and well-being around them. The tail's got to go, dude. Overall, the motivations behind lying can be complex and multifaceted, influenced by a combination of individual characteristics, societal norms, and situational factors. We're going to talk about those last two, the lack of empathy and achievement of goals, because I think that kind of plays into what we're going to talk about today. Most of you are familiar with the Owens Echard case, so I'm not going to give you a real in-depth summary at the moment, but I am going to, for those of you who have never even heard of it, because I did a survey, and a lot of you had never even heard of it, and I had never heard of it. I had no idea what it was, and once I started reading it, OMG, I could spend a week on this. Unbelievable. Some of the stuff that has happened has been said, some of the motions that have been filed. Wow. There is a ton of information out there. Hey, Bill's awesome. Put together this amazing timeline with everything step by step. It's unbelievable. So We'll see how we're going to go through it after this, but for now. So they started out as a paternity suit, and there were allegations that the pregnancy was fabricated. The pregnancy is no more. And now there are filings for contempt in that family law case against the mother for fabricating it. And there's mentions of perjury and all that. We'll watch the video so you can see for yourself what it said. And that's what I want to kind of focus on, is that the lies and the motivation behind it.
Good morning, everyone. This is the time set in FC 2023-052-114. Appearances, please. Beginning first with Petitioner's Counsel.
Morning, Your Honor. Corey Keith, appearing on behalf of Petitioner Laura Owens. Myself and client are both present, appearing in person.
Good morning to you both. And from the respondent.
Good morning, Judge. Greg Woodnick. I've got Clayton Echard with me, and my associate Isabel Rani is behind me.
Good morning to all three of you. All right, this is the time set for status conference. As the parties both know, a motion to continue was filed. Mr. Woodnick, that was your motion, so I'll allow you to go first.
Judge, thank you. As the court is aware from the meetings, we have zero disclosure, and I don't think zero is an understatement. I did speak with counsel in the hallway. He indicated that disclosure was forthcoming, maybe as soon as later this week. I'll believe it when I see it, but in any event, we are not prepared to go to trial next week on any of the remaining issues because we have nothing. I'm asking the court to reset the trial for 45, 60 days, whatever the court's availability is, and I'm asking the court to give us 2 hours. Petitioner invoked Rule 2. I'm stuck with it, and I intend to present a case that has foundation for evidence, and her deposition, I think, is scheduled for March 1st if she appears. As your Honor is aware, Petitioner failed to appear at her first deposition setting without leave of court, so I've got to deal with that as well. So we're asking the court just to reset the trial in a couple of months, and hopefully beginning today, there's discovery compliance, and the issues of attorney's fees and sanctions, I think, have to abide trial. And I think that's where we are from our perspective.
Okay, and what time on March 1st, counsel?
Great question, Judge.
8 a.m.
8 a.m.
This morning.
My office.
All right, counsel?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we're not opposing the motion to continue the trial. We're in agreement with the need for the continuance on the trial. I did want to address, we received a ruling regarding our motion for confidentiality this morning. There has been new evidence, threats to my client's life that were made to her on Facebook since the pleading practice regarding the motion practice regarding that motion for confidentiality. So I did want to have the opportunity to address that with the court, assuming that the court's position still remains the same with regards to that motion. I did indicate to Mr. Woodnick we will have discovery forthcoming by the end of the week with relation to my client's pregnancy records. Discovery has been requested far outside of the scope of what I believe is appropriate, and so I was hoping to be able to address that with the court as well today.
Okay. All right, so we'll deal with the motion to continue first, then we'll deal with re-urging on the confidentiality and the discovery.
Understood.
Any final thoughts, Mr. Woodnick?
No, I certainly have argument on all of the confidentiality issues, and I think Your Honor ruled on it, but I'll save those for later this morning.
All right. All right. The court will grant the motion to continue. The court is going to vacate the hearing. I believe we had set for the 27th. Yes, we're going to vacate the evidentiary hearing set February 27th at 4 p.m. The court will grant the request to extend the hearing time to 2 hours. I wish I could accommodate 45 to 60 days. We're setting out much further than that, which I apologize for. But Layla, what's our first available 2-hour setting?
It's going to be June 10th, Your Honor, at 8:45.
Now, with regards to the re-urging of the confidentiality motion, counsel?
Your Honor, my client received Facebook messages on February 7th. Prefer not to read them out loud. I did show them to opposing counsel. I'm happy to show them to Your Honor as well.
Okay.
The conduct has just gotten increasingly more concerning from the public. There almost appears to be some sort of obsession with this case. And I think my client, rightfully so, has been nervous to participate in things like the deposition or, giving up her privileged medical records because of this increasingly concerning conduct.
There are a lot of people who probably could be classified as being obsessed with this case. Just look on social media. They talk about it all the time. Why? because they're probably as blown away by it as I am. Like, it's crazy. It's been on most of the LawTube channels, have mentioned it, covered it, done something about it. It's nuts. However, you have to understand that that happens in all these cases. People get involved. People want to know more. Where you have to draw the line is do not contact anyone. We used to say, don't go real life. Like, if you want to watch whatever you want to do on your computer, like watch it, talk, keep it in this social media bubble. Do not go contact those people. That is not your business. Stay out of it. Let them do their thing. They don't care what you think. You're causing problems. Don't go telling her what a piece of whatever you think she is. I don't care if you think that or not. Don't go doing that. That's hurting us. You're hurting people who are trying to bring you this content that you enjoy. And if you don't enjoy it, why are you watching it? Okay. Second part of that is, if you didn't want attention on you, you shouldn't have allegedly, falsely accused someone in the public spotlight of knocking you up. Like, pick Joe Schmo off the street, like you did last time. That's not going to make the news. Just saying.
Council response?
Judge, a couple of things. Number one, in correspondence to Mr. Keith, I asked for some of the foundational information from that. Whoever wrote what they wrote on that allegedly to Miss Owens is not my client. He didn't do it. He's not involved in it. So I appreciate that that's not the suggestion here. Whoever wrote that, it's inappropriate, but certainly not a reason to enter confidentiality orders or any sort of sealing, which I assume is going to be Mother's next in the court, that these are both public figures. And I think that the First Amendment doesn't have. Judge, these are public people. My client wasn't behind whatever that text was. Frankly, there's a level of incredulity regarding that. I'm not so sure that that text is actually real, and it wasn't generated to create an argument to seal or for the confidentiality issue. I can tell Your Honor that we're going to treat Ms. Owens' records if she by them. In this case, it's now 7 months along, as we are supposed to, pursuant to the rules. Just like I'm going to treat her as we're supposed to when I depose her in 2 weeks. But I certainly don't think that some random Bachelor fan maybe put a really inappropriate text to Miss Owens maybe is a warrant for the court to do anything other than remind everyone to act professionally, which has always been my intention.
Thank you. Final thoughts?
All right. Agree with Mr. Woodnick in part. This isn't his client, in my opinion, that's making these statements. However, when you couple the statements that are being made that appear to be getting progressively worse with the instances that were cited in our reply, the civil welfare checks that were sent to her home, the calls to her personal cell phone, when you couple all of these things together and look at the fact that they're getting progressively worse, and my client is now being essentially compelled to produce documents pertaining to her medical history, we don't anticipate this getting better, Your Honor. And my concern is that as this continues to get worse, we start to continue to talk about the safety of the parties involved. I understand that we're talking about public figures to an extent. My client has taken a significant step back. I don't know if, in my opinion, I would classify her as a public figure. She maybe is making statements now to try to defend herself and defend her name. But, Your Honor, my concern is that if this continues to worsen, and like I stated in my response, we don't know what state it's going to get to. We also have witnesses that are afraid to come forward to testify on my client's behalf because they're afraid of what's happening to my client and her family. And so for those reasons, we believe that it's worth at least requesting that the court reconsider the ruling on the motion for confidentiality.
Thank you. Okay, the motion to reconsider is denied.
Why would someone lie? Why would someone do that? It's a great question. I mean, MH records are probably the place to start and probably play a role in it. But you also have to consider biology a little bit. Your hormones are kind of getting a little crazy. Women's peak reproductive years are between their late teens and late 20s, according to the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. By age 30, fertility and even the ability to get pregnant starts to decline. Older you get, faster it declines. Like, you start life with a fixed number of eggs. You drop one out every month. So you're losing them. As you're losing them, other ones become damaged. Sometimes you shoot 2 out instead of just 1. And so you're losing how many you have. Then you get endometriosis, something like that, and it can impact how many you have and how healthy they are. So the longer you go, the older you are, the more chance there is for problems. So Miss Thang is turning 34 next week or something like that, next month, I don't know. So her clock's ticking, telling her she needs this. Her sister just got married and had a baby. You know, those hormones are probably raging, making her not think clearly. You add that on top of, you know, some mental health things, and that could make you, you know, not necessarily make the best decisions, maybe.
And how far along are you as we sit here today with respect to the pregnancy?
I am 24 weeks along.
And when was your last menstrual period in order to calculate your due date?
Objection, Your Honor. I don't think that that's appropriate at this time. It seems like these questions are meant to harass my client. She's indicated she's pregnant. She's indicated the amount of months. You don't need to know things about her menstrual period.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Can you please provide us with your alleged due date?
February 14th.
And you testified that there's absolutely no possibility at all that your alleged twins are anyone other than Clayton, correct?
There's no chance they're anybody else's.
But you understand that Clayton has been very clear from day one that he did not have sexual intercourse with you, right?
Clayton was not. If you look at the June 4th message,
Ma'am, these are yes or no questions. Do you understand that Clayton was very clear from day one that it's his position he did not have sexual intercourse with you?
Then the answer is no.
But generally, those hormones are giving you that maternal instinct and making you want to reproduce. And in this case, the more I'm reading into it, I don't think that that was the end goal. I think locking him down was the end goal. And like, she didn't even want to try out the goods. Like, there's multiple statements entered into evidence that they didn't go all the way. Baby daddy had no problem, no shame telling anyone who will listen. It was some heavy grinding and oral twice. Good for him. I mean, it can happen, but for someone who's used to getting what they want, it wasn't the right way to get from point A to point B, but 12 days later, poof, twinsies. Woo. It seems she always gets what she wants.
I agree. The court has absolutely no control over what people post online. It is absolutely inappropriate to threaten people generally. So the court doesn't condone that behavior. However, I don't think at this point it rises to the level of designating anything confidential. So I'm going to affirm my prior ruling on that, recognizing that there may be evidence presented at trial that will require certain exhibits be deemed confidential because of their medical nature or addresses or other things. So the parties need to be prepared to tell me which exhibits at trial need to be designated as confidential, and I'm more than happy to do that. Now, counsel, you also said there was an issue with discovery.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, my client understands the court likely in need, based on the recent ruling, for her to disclose things like her medical records pertaining to the pregnancy. It's been mentioned in the pleadings that opposing counsel has requested that she sign HIPAA releases. Opposing counsel has also sent requests for production of documents. Those HIPAA releases request 5 years of her medical records. Under the recent Como ruling back in 2022, we don't believe that that's appropriate. We believe and are asking the court to order that while she should comply with requests for her medical records, it should be pertaining to the pregnancy, the only issue that's outstanding in this case. And on that note, Your Honor, there were two rulings on my client's previous motion to dismiss, one which granted in part and left open the issues of attorney's fees and sanctions, and one which I received yesterday, which just outright denied the motion. And so I just wanted to make sure that we were still only talking about attorney's fees and sanctions. And if that is the case, I believe that my client's medical history pertaining to whether or not she was pregnant in this matter is what would be appropriate and relevant for the court to have testimony on at the upcoming trial.
Okay, before I get to you, counsel, and then obviously you'll have final thoughts to go back to that, the court's intention was to deny the motion to dismiss at this time. So that's the ruling that stands. Mr. Woodman?
Judge, I appreciate the Como decision, and I appreciate Mr. Keith's argument. The problem is the nexus of our Rule 26 issue, which is that the entire action was filed in bad faith, is not a fishing expedition under Como. Como was designed to stop parties from fishing expeditions. That's not it. We are looking very specifically for the mental health and medical records that would explain why someone would fabricate a pregnancy, why someone would appear in court in front of Judge Gail Ketsis with a 24-week abdomen, tell Judge Gail Ketsis that they were pregnant, and then magically the babies are gone. And I think in order for us to do that, we have a right to get the relevant mental health records and the relevant medical records. And I also remind the court that that does include the fact, as we've pled here, that there's a history of the fabricating behavior. That's actually the nexus of our Rule 26 motion. For Rule 26, which, to make a clear record, is really Arizona Family Court adopting Rule 11, Civil Rule 11, not Mental Health Rule 11, but Civil Rule 11. And it addresses the propriety of filings and the propriety of signing filings that were signed by Ms. Owens directly. And she filed them, and then she filed multiple filings after that. And every single one of those filings made claims and assertions that this court has an absolute authority over. In order for us to defend or produce an argument regarding Rule 26, we need to have those records. We will treat them appropriately. They are not going to be publicly shared for any that we have any intention of doing at this point, but it's going to be part of a very public proceeding because Ms. Owens, as recently as 4 days ago or 3 days ago, published an article about these very issues. She's made it pledge. She's the one who went to the Sun tabloid claiming not just that she was pregnant by Mr. Echard, Judge, but that she was pregnant with twins and posted a visual of the twins that she was pregnant with. We have a right to all of the discovery relevant to that for the attorney's fees issue, for the sanctions issue, and for the integrity of Title 25 and the mud that Mr. Echard's been dragged through. I'm not interested in her childhood trauma. That's not relevant here. I totally agree with that. But Rule 49 does specifically say we're entitled to 5 years of back records, and I think asking them to be produced is reasonable. I also remind the court, as my final comment, they've provided nothing. When I say nothing, Judge, I mean no medical records, no financial record. I mean nothing. Even the stuff that is not even controversial, like legal fees, zero disclosure. So to come to court today and say, oh no, we want to rein in the disclosure is a little bit disingenuous. They should have been providing records along the way because that's what Rule 49 required.
Clayton has stated publicly he does not believe she's pregnant. His attorney has stated in court he believes that it was a fabricated pregnancy. She's alleging that he is inciting his followers to attack and harass her. I have looked through everything he's posted, and I haven't seen anything where he's incited anyone. I think people are he's putting information out there. He's putting the truth out there, the facts out there, and people are making their own conclusions. And lots of people aren't okay with this. I also want to take a minute and go on the record and say I had no freaking clue who either of these people were prior to this hearing, this court case, like until you told me about it. And I could give two hoots less who they are, what they do, what show they're on. I want to watch that stuff. I'm interested in the court case and the legal aspect and the backstory. How did we get here? How did we get in this courtroom with him saying you fabricated the pregnancy? It's like the start of a movie where they're like, whew, and then they flash back to the beginning. That's where I'm at. So a lot of you have said you want to know my opinion, my take on this case. After going through everything publicly available, it's reliable information, I've determined that either this woman is a statistical miracle or she's full of poo. And either way, no more fake babies. No more fake babies. Mm-mm. How cool. How cool. So I need a little more for that. You know, I'm not really a go on my feelings type of person. I need some numbers. Show me, give me a spreadsheet. Where's my spreadsheet? That's why I have the 36-inch ultra wide monitor. Do you know what kind of spreadsheet you can put on that? OMG. So I was looking at the numbers. The reason why your biological clock starts tick, 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 ticking, oh, Roxy's alive, is because you're on the downslide. You're running out of time. It's like, shit or get off the pot. Like, hurry it up once you start hitting your 30s because you're running out of time. A woman in her 20s, just FYI for anybody out there that's still young, you have a 25% chance of getting pregnant during each cycle. Like if you're actively trying. I think the people in the study were actively trying. Once you get in your 30s, that drops down to 10% chance. You know, multiple times over the span of the cycle, which I guess is a few days, I don't remember. So let's take that. She has a 10% chance of getting pregnant during this one cycle, 10% chance of that egg being good. And then take into account that it was a one-off and it didn't even shoot where it was supposed to. I found a stat for that too. 0.8% of women have reported that that has happened to them. Immaculate conception. They call it a virgin birth. I'm probably going to get censored for that. But if you take those stats alone, that makes her like the octomom or the pregnant dad like level of rarity. But then let's look at the rest of the things that have happened to her. Penny's having a moment. Animals are quite disruptive. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have an office soon. I'm so excited. Where like you don't have to look at all my craft stuff behind me. It'll be great. Maybe. So in July of 2021, she became pregnant. Okay, that's not really that rare. With twins, that's rare. That's pretty rare. You have a 3.3% chance of getting pregnant with twins at all, ever. But then she disposed of them. And then she got pregnant again in this situation with twins. The chances of that happening, really out there. Then she lost them in the second trimester. The chances of losing in the second trimester is 0.5%. 0.5%. If you hit the second trimester, you're pretty much like home slide. You're all right. 0.5%. So you add all those things up together. This chick's a miracle. Like people should be flocking to her to figure out like what kind of magical powers she has. It's like once in a million year event. Like the time the Virgin Mary appeared on that building and like the people just sat there and stared at it for days on end. This chick should be up on a pedestal and worshipped, unless, of course, it's BS. Quick fun fact, because I learned way more than I needed to know about twins and pregnancy while I was researching this. Did you know that you're more likely to have twins if you have a higher body mass index or you're taller? And also if you consume a lot of dairy and you're not a vegan. Interesting. And also, identical twins occur in 3 out of 4 of the twin pregnancies. Fraternal twins are when it's genetic. So if they're identical twins, it's just random. But if they're fraternal twins, it's genetic. And those are the people who are more likely to have multiples, which is 1 out of 4 twin births. That makes it even rarer. I feel like I learned this in 7th grade science class, like right about the time we had to watch the actual birthing video. Can you imagine if they tried to show kids an actual birthing video these days? Like, there would be riots in the streets. Parents would burn the school down. We had to watch the whole thing, up close, personal. Oh. Just bad. But when you're pregnant with twinsies, you need to see the doctor like a lot, especially if you're high risk, like all the time. And you have to have an ultrasound like every month. And a normal pregnancy, in high risk, it's even more. And all she has is one ultrasound that she admittedly altered, although she says it was just the date at the top. But when you first Google search it, it was posted online years ago.
I apologize. Exhibit 46, my mistake. And in that Exhibit 46, all that you have from Dr. McCool here is a screenshot of an upcoming appointment for Monday, July 24th of 2023, right?
Correct. Because he's a doctor.
You understand that anyone can go online at a mommy, where Dr. McCool works, and make an appointment for an OBGYN appointment with Dr. McCool, correct?
That is not true. Dr. McCool is a perinatologist. I have a referral to see him because I have epilepsy. He's a high risk specialist. You can't go and make an appointment with him. I had to send records to get an appointment with him.
Okay, but the only record that you have provided this court with regarding your alleged high risk perinatologist is a screenshot of an appointment for Monday, July 24th of 2023, right?
No, I provided the last page was October the 11th with the diagnosis epilepsy during pregnancy from my neurologist after an appointment that day.
Ms. Owens, there is no copy of any medical record from October 11th.
Yes, there is the last page. It's
Okay.
October 11th. If you look at the last page, Zeman Glynis on October 11th, 10:53:20 Mountain Standard Time.
I apologize. What was it that the court indicated?
A few more minutes, so we need to probably step it up a little bit if you want to get to other things.
As we sit here today, Ms. Owens, you have refused to sign any sort of HIPAA release so that Mr. Echard could obtain directly from your medical providers evidence to support any alleged pregnancy.
No, on Friday, I literally had the doctor send it to him directly. I had my provider send it to him directly, and that's an email I sent to him telling him that it was sent directly to him. I signed a HIPAA release.
Ms. Owens, this is not the first time that you've made allegations that you're pregnant with twins within the last 2 years, correct?
That is incorrect.
Okay. So I would ask the court to take judicial notice, Your Honor, of the civil matter involving Mr. Greg Gillespie, who is present in the courtroom today. And it's CV, let me get that number for the court.
I have a protective
2021
Gillespie and against Mr. Echard, and I wish I was aware that Mr. Gillespie
052893.
I have been following this adorable grandmother from London on Twitter. Her daughter-in-law went into labor with twins way early. They needed to cook way longer. Twin 1 popped out 23 weeks. Now, 24 weeks is like the viability. And it used to be 28 from what I remember. Like, it's so risky and the survival rate is so low. But she's a little warrior. She's fighting. Oh, it's amazing. Like, it's absolutely amazing. Twin number 2 cooked until 28 weeks. It's so weird. Like, twins and one is born like almost a month before the other one. How cool is that? They're just absolutely adorable. But I want you to look at the size of them and remember that size. Because not long after I was reading through all her history and looking at the pictures, because she kind of documented it through the whole process of, you know, the one twin fighting while the other one and mom were still, you know, trying to hold on as long as possible. And then I saw this hearing where Miss Thang has 20-something week pregnant belly. I mean, or she swallowed a beach ball. I don't know. Watch, she adjusts the camera so her belly is showing.
They come into evidence unless you move to admit those. Okay. And then you'll.
Really? Come on now. Maybe if I get a new desk, it'll be one where when I hit the desk, it doesn't shake the camera. That'd be cool. Penny is super excited because we finally got the fence installed. The big safe fence so that they can play outside all they want and not have to worry about big mean dogs busting through the fence attacking you, huh? Are you excited? Mom will get the dog door installed soon and then you can go out whenever you want. So exciting. Oh my gosh. There are enough people in the world that want children that can't have them. It's a slap in the face to those people to pretend. It's just dirty. That is my opinion. After all that dramatic, making sure everybody noticed the belly, then it's just gone.
All right. When did the miscarriage occur, counsel?
Your Honor, I'm not sure that an exact date is known.
What month?
Your Honor, I believe my client went to the doctor in mid-November, and that's when it was determined that she had a miscarriage. We would believe that it was in the maybe month or 2 months leading up to that time.
So previous counsel should have disclosed that. Correct?
Well, Your Honor, I believe that the increasingly concerning nature of this case and the request for confidentiality and the request for the dismissal, I believe that given the fact that everything my client sends to respondent is being shared with the media, believe that warrants at least some degree of the court finding her actions to be reasonable. She is actually receiving threats to her life, voicemails on her phone. I mean, this is concerning conduct from the public. And so we were just waiting on, same thing with the deposition. I told Mr. Woodnick we would appear for a deposition if the court ordered us to. We just wanted to have the motion to quash and the motion for confidentiality ruled on prior to doing so because we wanted to have the court's input into if those things were necessary.
She's not pregnant anymore. She doesn't know what happened. That's what was said. She doesn't know. I want you to take a minute and look at this baby. There was 2 of them. That's how far along she was. And it's just gone? And you don't know what happened? Explain that one to me. Her attorney said, wait till you hear all the evidence. I don't think there's any evidence that could convince me that she didn't know what happened. Ironically, in researching this, I found this site where People talk about losing a child between 20 and 24 weeks of pregnancy. Listen to this.
I remember the nurse saying that she looked great when she was born, and then she was exactly what you'd expect a baby to look like, but just smaller. Like everything was there, everything was in proportion.
formed,
Nothing.
yeah.
Like I mean, it wasn't like a fetus, they're slightly still developing. That like she was ready. All she was going to do from there was get bigger. She was perfectly formed. So to
I still had to push it because I said to the bereavement midwife afterwards, I said something like, "Gosh, that was awfully hard work. I can't imagine what it's like to really give birth." And she said, "But you did." She said, "You still had to get to, I think I had to get to 6 centimetres dilated or something." And she was like, "That's the majority of the hard work. It's just the same, and you did really well, and you were, you know." And again, because she was small, you sort of think you don't, but I still had the awful contractions. I had to do the breathing and still had to push and all, I had to deliver the placenta afterwards. I still had to do exactly the same. It's just that she was small. But I don't think I was ready. She was ready.
The actual process of giving birth, the fact that I did give birth to him, and I think a lot of people just don't either think or realise that is something that you go through.
This is not something you play around with. This is not something you fabricate. It's not something to joke about. It's the same as false DV allegations, but so much worse, which she did that too. And we'll talk about that another time. There was no need. Don't cry wolf. Don't. Anybody. And they say don't cry wolf because when you need help, you won't be able to get it. I don't care if she needs help down the road and doesn't get it. I don't care about that. You probably deserve to suffer. I care about all the people who really need help now, and you're taking it away from them with your BS. I care about the people you're hurting right now. Because what you're doing is effed up. In one of his recent blog posts, her attorney, hold on, I gotta see his name so I can get it right. David Gingras. I can't remember his name. So he's licensed to practice in Arizona and California. He said that it was ridiculous that she was accused of using a moon bump. I didn't know what a moon bump was. Like, doesn't associate with pregnancy in my head, so I had to Google it. Apparently, Moon Bump is the name of the company. Kind of like Kleenex means tissue. Well, Kleenex is the company, yeah. So you can get these fake prosthetic pregnancy bellies. They are intended for actual therapeutic purposes, very limited, like adoption, things like that, it said. For cosplay, do what you want, when you want, in your bedroom, too. And that's what they're for. They're not to try and screw someone over to convince them that you're pregnant. And the funniest part about this is, like I said before, I thought that the whole thing revolved around her wanting a baby, and it's not, because in her letters, she's willing to get rid of it at any time. Well, I'll just terminate the pregnancy at any time if you'll date me. Jesus, stop shaking. If you'll date me. If you'll date me, that's what she keeps saying. If you'll date me. Like, that's what she wants, to go on a date with him. Really? Why didn't you just ask him out on a date? And when he said he wasn't interested, move along. I'm pretty sure there's quite a few people out there in Arizona. All right, so her attorney said, when I first heard this claim regarding the moon bump, I have to be honest, it really, really worried me. I would be totally worried too, dude. That is some seriously crazy shit to say about someone. I completely agree. I saw this case from afar and thought, WTF, is everyone conspiracy theorizing about, like, why are you targeting this woman? Just leave it alone. And then I read the filings, which got me a little worried because some of their communications are a little not great. Then I watched the hearing, and maybe Mr. Gingras should go watch the prior hearings a little closer. Like, really pay attention, because it might make you retract a few of your statements. Kind of like where he continues, this lady, who I'm supposed to be defending, shows up in court wearing a fake pregnant stomach? The conclusion is obvious. If Laura actually did that, she must be a stark, raving lunatic. Totally insane. Unfortunately, sir, yes. Yes, she is. I mean, I don't think totally insane is the correct diagnosis. I think that was eliminated right about the time idiot was from the DSM-5. I don't know. However, I do believe this chick needs a full-blown MH evaluation and therapy to go along with whatever medication she's on, because this is seriously concerning behavior, especially since we've seen multiple cases where women have started this con and become so entrenched in it that they ended up murdering to keep the ruse going. Just last month, Taylor Parker became the 7th woman ever placed on death row in Texas because she killed a 21-year-old and cut the unborn baby out of her stomach. That baby didn't survive. In 2021, Lisa Marie Montgomery was executed for killing Bobby Joe Stitton and taking the baby, who was not even full term yet. That baby fortunately did survive. Yes, this is a major deal that has the potential to lead to some very scary conclusions. This isn't some game you play. And like I said, from what I've seen, I don't think it's so much the baby that she wants, but the baby wasn't always the motive in these cases. It's a necessity to keep the ruse going. The ridiculous amount of text messages and emails that are included as exhibits in this case, it's unbelievable. And they all kind of lead back to this. She's trying to get to date him. It's like she's developed this entrapment blackmail scheme to lock him down. You'll see this a lot more as I give you more about the case. But she offered him a contract in return for taking Plan B. It basically said, I'll destroy the fake baby if you agree to date me. No more fake babies. No more fake babies. So this is the email that was sent. She asked him if he wanted to read the article that she was submitting to the Huffington Post. However, the Huffington Post, I can't find, has ever published anything that she wrote. She did publish an article on Medium, which may be what happened. Maybe the Huffington Post rejected it and she went to Medium. I'm not sure if it's the same article or not. Before I do that, and prior to your work getting involved with withholding income for child support, I wanted to ask one last time about the agreement. Okay. Generally speaking, I don't know Arizona specifically, but I'm pretty sure everybody's the same. The government doesn't immediately get involved and start withholding income. They do that when there's an issue or if you request it. Like if you're not paying. You usually have the option of paying, like you write a check every month and it goes through the court. Like you pay the court pays them. Or you don't even have to. Like, unless they are getting some kind of services that makes whatever organization oversees it in each state need to oversee the child support process, then they don't even get involved. Like, it's between you and your ex. He pays you directly. If there's a problem, then the court can get involved and do the deductions and things like that. I mean, that's like step 3. That's not step 1. She said she also contacted another pill company who said they could still do it at this point. We don't know the exact date of this email. If you wanted to. You haven't and aren't putting pressure on me to do that, but it is really important that we talk about this if you don't want to have twins with me. Your behavior leads me to believe that would be your preference. So you need to say something if it is. I will not hold it against you whatsoever if you sign the agreement. If you don't, that's fine, but we are having them. Okay. So sign this agreement, this contract I just sent you, or I'm having these babies is where we're at. I just want to have a fresh start and remove all this animosity from the picture. We need to be making smart decisions right now, not ones driven by emotions. Neither one of us wanted this, but it happened, and we need to make smart choices. If I don't hear back, then fine. We can continue like this, and I will submit my piece to HuffPost, but your unresponsiveness is getting you nowhere with me and will get you in trouble with the court. Please simply consider the agreement with modifications. It was written entirely in your favor, not mine. And here's the agreement. The terms of the agreement. The couple agrees that for a period of 1 week, while determining the best course of action for their pregnancy, Party A and Party B will exclusively explore a relationship with intention, meaning with the goal of turning it into something long-lasting and meaningful. There is no obligation to engage in intercourse if either party is uncomfortable with the act. From the date of this agreement is signed until 1 week after, no action whatsoever will be taken in the family court case. The parties agree to a paternity test. If the paternity test comes back to prove that he is the father, then she'll release her medical records for him. If a joint decision is made to terminate the pregnancy, then he will stipulate, once the pregnancy is confirmed by a doctor and no longer viable, that she will pay his legal fees to date. During the 1 week period, if the decision is made to continue the pregnancy, then they will discuss what would make the best situation for the children, whether that be raising them together or apart. The goal would be to keep the case out of the court and to avoid accruing additional legal fees. There is no obligation for the relationship to work out beyond 1 week. However, if it is apparent that this agreement was entered into for the wrong reasons, evidenced by abuse of any kind, verbal, emotional, or physical, it is null and void. At the end of the 1 week period, provided the terms have been met, then Party A and Party B are forever barred from bringing charges against each other for any reason up to that date. So, when I first read this, I thought, did she get that guy down in Texas with the apartments that was separating him from his genitals thing to write this for her?
Ever since then, it's been a whole campaign to separate my genitals from me. It sounds ludicrous.
Holy crap. What in the... Then I realized, I think she's trying to cover her ass. That last little line in there is, she knows she's in trouble. She knows he has a massive lawsuit against her if there is proof that this is fabricated.
Appreciate that Your Honor's not living this case every day, but the testimony, not the testimony, the statement of counsel was just that mother says she had a miscarriage 2 months before November. In November, the parties appeared in front of Judge Gail Ketsis, where mother had a pregnant belly and told Judge Gelketz that she was 100% pregnant by my client. Your Honor's not adjudicating that today, but I'm asking Your Honor to take back the protective order proceeding that was granted in my client's favor for purposes of not consolidation, to be heard concurrently for the purposes of attorney's fees and sanctions on that matter. Because if what counsel just said is that she was not pregnant at that time and she lied to Judge Gelketz in that proceeding, then I think that's sanctionable and Your Honor could enter orders under that proceeding. So I'm asking Your Honor to take not jurisdiction, but to hear that matter concurrently or to have that file available for our upcoming evidentiary hearing.
If there is proof, more likely than not, because it would be a civil case, not reasonable doubt, because it's not criminal at this point. Unbelievable. Although I still agree with her lawyer that she is a stark raving lunatic, totally insane. Although I believe that there's some truth to that statement, for real, that needs to be addressed. Seriously. Like I'm really concerned. I don't know anyone with a normal, sane mind who wants to be in a relationship with someone who says they hate them, which has been said in text messages, and that they never want to see them again, which has been said in text messages, and continually blocks their number because she keeps getting new phones with new numbers to get around his block. Like, I'm not talking about like you've been together for 20 years and then you break up and you just can't get over someone, like, and you still want someone that doesn't want you. That's a little different. There was an attachment there. This is different. I mean, if they had met in a bar, they probably wouldn't even have swapped names. It just so happened that you had a prior relationship and you knew each other. That's why this is carrying on. Like, there was nothing there. There's nothing there. Just some skin slapping and some fluids leaking. So her attorney actually has a trending hashtag. Hashtag tramp stamp lawyer. That's how he signed his blog, so he must be rolling with it. I tried to figure out where this came from, and it seems like it came from Megan Fox and that umbrella guy talking about the lawyer getting his logo tattooed on him as a tramp stamp. Pretty impressive. The lawyer has called out that group, including Dave Neal, who has been on Law Talk with Mike, some of you have seen. She actually sued him directly, which we'll cover in another. I could do this for like a month and not even have this whole thing covered. Like, you should see my folder. So Gingras went on to talk about the JFC crew. What's the JFC crew? The Justice for Clayton crew. It's a crew? Am I part of the crew? Do I have a street corner? I mean, Megan Fox has been dropping some fat beats. You should check them out.
Yeah. Give me breadstick money, yeah. Yeah. Give me that breadstick money, honey. Breadstick money, yeah.
YSL needs to look out while they're stuck up there listening to Glanville yell at attorneys and take over. Dope. Seriously. You guys know I don't get mixed up in drama. But when it hits the headlines, I usually nope out of there so fast. This case has been floating around social media because a few creators are not letting it die. And why are they not letting it die? Because there's still good people in the world that believe when there's an injustice, it should be called out and it should be righted. And I know people have the freedom of speech. People have the freedom to cosplay as the Octomom. Hell, you can play the Octomom while being a furry in a tutu with combat boots. You can do whatever they want until you involve another person. Then you have a problem. Most of you have seen that Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer's accuser was charged with felony fraud by extortion for making a false pregnancy claim and demanding money from him. I don't know how this one will play out. It's different than Bauer's case in that this one's more intentional infliction of emotional distress than it is extortion, because she wasn't asking for money. She was just... Do you know the stress when you have an unwanted pregnancy or unplanned pregnancy? I'm going to say unwanted, unplanned pregnancy. That overwhelming, what am I going to do? Can I do this? Can I make it work? Even when you're with somebody that you've, like your husband or something, and you have an unplanned pregnancy, it totally rocks your world. So imagine after a one-nighter where you didn't even touch. Well, you touched, but not. Yeah, you know what I mean. Words, can't use those words. And then she won't take plan B after she says she thinks some of your gunk got in her trunk. Like, the stress. And then she starts stringing you along for a week and a half, and boom, pregnant. Right after that, boom, twinsies. Like, WTF did this poor guy go through? It's a very sad situation, and it angers me, and it also upsets me, because what makes a person do that? What is so bad in your life that you want to hurt somebody else to try and get what you want, which you're not even going to get, because how are you going to keep someone who doesn't want to be with you to begin with? Tell me in the comments what you think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading into things. Maybe I'm listening to the hype. I mean, I don't think I am, because I formed my opinion before I really looked at social media. But let me know what you think. Now that I've scratched the surface, I'm going to go keep digging in and see what I can put together. And we'll look at some of these hearings and some of these motions and go through it all. In the meantime, no more fake babies. No more fake babies. No more fake babies. Come on. Until next time. See you soon.
No more fake babies. No more fantasy.